Hey everybody, it's me Stacy here at Scrapbooking Made Simple with another YouTube demo for you today. Now today we're going to go outside the box a little bit and we are going to play with some things that you might not always find at your local scrapbooking or card making, stamping store. We have got the new dies by Sizzix that are designed by Vintaj. We've got Vintaj metal blanks and we've got Patina paint that's made by Ranger, also for Vintaj. Now, Vintaj is what's normally thought of as a jewelry company. They make beautiful charms and chain and jewelry findings and brass blanks to play with, and they have crossed over into the scrapbooking and card making world, and they have done it beautifully. They have aligned themselves with Sizzix, and Sizzix has made dies that will work with the Vintaj metal blanks to emboss them and etch them. And then Ranger got into the game, and Ranger of course makes all of the Tim Holtz inks, and Ranger has made what's called Patina Paints. And these Patina Paints are beautiful. They adhere to non-porous materials. They're specifically made for metals and non-porous materials, and when they dry permanent, and they give an aged look, a weathered look that's just gorgeous, and the colors are vibrant and beautiful. And I think I've got lots of samples to show you, so I think when you see them you'll get where I'm going with this, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna tilt on down and we're gonna get started for today. Down we go. Bye. All right, there we go. So what do we have for you today? Well, like I had mentioned, we have got blanks by Vintaj, and these are metal. These are brass blanks. And I've got one here and I want to show you. They don't bend. They're very thick. They're a heavier metal, not like a foil or a shimmer sheet. They are a true blank and they're heavy. They're beautifully made, and when you see what we do with them, I think you're going to love it. Next, we have dies by Sizzix. We have Deco embossed dies, and we have Deco Etch Die. Here, Deco Etch Dies. And they're all done with the Vintaj designs so that they can be used with the Vintaj blanks. Now you can also use them with, at least the Deco Emboss, with your foils and your shimmer sheets and things like that. I wouldn't use the Deco Etch, it's not going to do much for you. But they're really nice and they're meant to go with the Vintaj blanks, and they were designed by Vintaj. Then on top of that, we have got Patinas. Patina Paints, again under the Vintaj name, but made by Ranger. And there are 5 different sets of 3, and I don't know how you would ever decide which one to have, because I think you need to have them all. They blend, and the colors are so fun. And when you're done, the outcome is stunning. The finished product's just yummy. So we're going to be playing with the Patina Paints as well. And again, it's under the Vintaj name, but they're made by Ranger. And they are made for non-porous materials, specifically metal, because when they dry permanent, okay? So we're gonna get started. Here's just a quick sample of what we did. This is a blank that I started with here. Just a blank piece of metal. And we went ahead and we embossed it and we painted it and we made this gorgeous little card with it. So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that. And we are going to start with a Deco Etch Die. And this is a Deco Etch Die, and it looks very much like a Sizzlet. It is not. It does not cut paper. It looks just like a Sizzlet. Now, Vintaj has put lots of little designs on their dies so that when you put your blank on, you can decide if you want the leaves or if you want the flower or if you want scrolls. You've got all of these little designs to choose from. But no matter what design you choose, and it doesn't matter if it's an etch die or a Deco embossed die, it is important that that blank be entirely on the die, not off. Entirely on the die. Doesn't matter where you put it on the die, but you don't want it hanging off the side. And there's a reason for that. Should you do that, what you end up with is a crease line right here, right where the die is hanging off. And I've got one here to show you. Okay, so can you see where the embossing or the etching is? And then can you see that crease line where it was off the die? That's not what we're looking for. That's not what we want to do. So you want to keep it on the die. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna etch this one for you really quick. And of course, what machine are we gonna use? We're gonna use our Sizzix Big Shot machine because it is the die cutting machine of choice here at Scrapbooking Made Simple. And I have got the new XL plate here, the base plate here, the multi-purpose platform in the XL size, and I love it. It gives you a huge work surface. I really like that. So we are using this one today, and should you have this, you're going to keep the solo shim on. You're going to keep it completely closed with the solo shim on, and I just really enjoy how big of a surface I have. If you have the multi-purpose platform that comes with your Sizzix Big Shot, you're going to open it up. So you take your top tab and open it up, and you're going to work with the bottom tab and the base plate, and that's the sandwich you're going to use. Now remember, I always have a do not cut plate because I want my bottom plate to be nice and flat so I have a very smooth work surface when I'm sending it through. I'm going to put my die down. I'm going to put my blank where I want it. I'll put my top cutting plate right on the top of it, and then I'm going to send it on through. Now you should know when you're sending it through, there'll come a point where there's just a little bit of a resist. That's okay, just keep going on through. And I'm done. It was that simple and that fast. Let's get this out of the way. And this is what I'm left with. Now I know you really can't see that, but we're not done. We're going to take what they call a reliefing block, the Vintaj reliefing block. And we are going to sand this up and burnish it up to a beautiful shine. Now, with the reliefing block, the two thin sides are the same grit, and that's where you want to start. The two thin sides, doesn't matter which side you use, the two thin gray sides. Then I go to the white side, and then I finish up with this gray side. And that's just the way I do it. So don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's my way. So I'm gonna take one of the gray sides and I'm gonna sand it. And right away, you can see the polish coming up. Right away. Now your hands are gonna get dirty because you're sanding off metal. Then I'm gonna take my white side and I'm gonna give it a little sand. And then I'm going to take my gray side and give it a little buff. And that's what I have. Now I could do the back side too because it has left a little impression on the back side too. Here, let me grab one that I did. Here's this one. Only I did the back side as well. I polished the back side. So I always recommend you polish both sides because you just never know which side you're going to like better. And this is with the Deco Etching Die. And all it's done is leave an etch. It's not a deep emboss by any means. It's just an etch. But sanded, it's just gorgeous. You took a piece of metal that looked like this when we started, and now looks like this. Okay? So let me show you quickly a card that we made with an etching die. And this is the fairy. Isn't that pretty? It's just beautiful. And all we did was etch the die and then use our reliefing block to buff it up. Okay, so that's deco etching. Next we're going to do embossing, deco embossing, and that's a little different because you have metal plates. These are metal plates, and you need those metal plates because you're using a heavier metal. And those metal plates need to be able to dig into that and give you a really strong emboss. It's very similar to a plastic embossing folder. This is a Tim Holtz plastic embossing folder. When you do this with paper, you know the deep embossing you get. That's because paper's thin and the plastic can give you that deep, sharp embossing. Well, because the metal is heavy, you need these metal plates to give you that deep, sharp embossing. Now again, like I said, you don't want to have any of that blank off the die, outside the die. You want to close it up and you don't want to see any of it. You can put it anywhere you want. You just want to make sure it's entirely inside the die. Okay, let's see. Let's grab this one. And I'm going to work with the wildflower. And again, they've given you a lot of different designs to choose from, so you could put your blank anywhere you want and choose one of those designs. I'm going to do this flower here. I'm going to close it up. I'm going to pull up my Big Shot machine. And with this die, you will see it says, place this side down. It's got a little direction there. They put that there for a reason. So pay attention and put that side down. If they didn't want you to do it that way, they wouldn't have taken the time to print it. So go ahead and I'm going to place this side down against my cutting plate, my clear cutting plate that says do not cut on it. I've got my top cutting plate, and it's all sitting on top of my new XL multi-purpose platform. And I'm going to send it on through. And again, there's a little bit of a resist. Go ahead and push it through. You shouldn't have to force it. It should be a resist. If you're having to force it, you have the wrong sandwich. Let's move this out of the way. And let's open it up. And it's in there. I mean, it's not falling out. You gotta pop it up. And that's what I've got. But of course, we're not done yet. I'm going to take my reliefing block, and I'm going to start with the highest grit, or the lowest grit. I don't know. This would be the, I know this feels like 600 grit, so I don't know if that's what, this is a heavier grit. So either side, heavier grit. I guess it would be the lowest grit because it's heavier. And you're going to start sanding. Okay, then I'm going to go to my white side, give it a little bit more, and then to finish it, I'm going to use the gray. And there we go. And of course, I could do the back side. There's always the back side. So I've started to do the back side. I've got one here where I've used the damask, and I did the back side on this one as well. Aren't they beautiful? So I've got some samples here real quick of ones we've done where we've just gone ahead and did the embossing, the Deco Emboss, and sanding, just to give you some ideas. Okay? But we're not done. We're going to take these pieces and we're going to apply the patina to them. We're going to use these, and we're going to take the Vintaj Patinas by Ranger, and we're going to apply it to this. And this is where it gets so creative and so much fun. Now, you shake these up a little bit. They have a little ball in there, so you know it's okay to shake them. And a little goes a long way. Now, I'm using a Ranger craft mat, and I really recommend you do that because then you can paint, you can just put your paints right onto your craft mat and go from there. I'm going to use a little bit of the green, and a little does go a long way. Do you see how little I'm putting on there? I use a little bit of the blue and a little bit of the yellow. Oh, my yellow's not coming out. All right, so since my yellow's not coming out, I'm going to take my little Tim Holtz pokey tool, give it a poke, and there it is. You don't need to stick your tool all the way down. It's just a little bit of the poke at the top, and it opens it up so you can pour more. Okay, I have got my paintbrush, which can be any paintbrush. I've got a little bit of water over here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now I've got my my blank here that's been embossed with the Sizzix Deco Emboss. And the one I used was, this one was Lily Damask is the one I used for this one. Lily Damask. And I'm going to take a little bit of water on my paintbrush, and I'm going to take that green, and I'm just going to go in there and paint my whole thing with my green. Can you see how a little goes a long way? Then rinse my paintbrush out. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that blue, and I'm going to mix it in with that green. And just kind of mix it in. And then rinse out my paintbrush and maybe pick up a little bit of the yellow. Now I love the yellow, I do. So I don't know which sets you're gonna get, but no matter what, you need to get the one with the yellow, because when you have two sets, that yellow blends with the other colors so beautifully. Now I might want to add a little more green, so I'm going to put a little more green down and pick it up and just go in there and blend away. There is no right and there is no wrong. These are opaque colors, and I like that because when they dry, if you're unhappy with your finished product, you can paint right over the top of it. Add a little yellow up here. Okay. So that's what we've got so far. Now this needs to dry. Doesn't take very long at all. Just needs to dry. So I'm going to set that off to the side. And I'm going to show you one that we've got finished. Well, I'm going to show you a couple of them that we've got finished. This one was using the copper plate blanks. This is a copper blank. Can you see the copper coming through? Gorgeous, isn't it? And I made that one into a pendant. Then I did a butterfly, and I made it into a necklace. And I've got the color on this side. But in case I have a different outfit that I want to wear, I did a different coloring on that side. So I can wear this necklace either way. I can use it this way, or I can use it that way. Let's see, I've got a couple cards here. Right here. We've done the big flower here. So easy, so pretty. And then we did a baby card because they have little tiny charms, and they have a font, two different fonts that you can use, and we've embossed the word baby across it. Cute, huh? Very simple to do. And this is just putting it through the Sizzix die, and then using the reliefing block to bring up the letters. No paint at all. All right, this is dry. Should be pretty much dry. I'm going to take my reliefing block, and I'm going to relief it. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the paint off the highest points of the embossing. Just like if we were using white core paper and sanding it with the embossing folders, the plastic embossing folders, it's just going to take that highest point and take the paint off. So again, I'm going to start with one of the thin sides, one of the thin gray sides. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I'm absolutely in love with this stuff. Then I'm going to go to my white. And then I'm going to go to the opposite side of the white just to give it a final buff. I love the colors. They're just beautiful. And then I can take this and add this to a card, to a page, to earrings, to a pendant. It's whatever it is you want it to be. And it's just that simple. Now, they have what's called the glaze, Vintaj glaze that goes with the patinas. When do you want to use the glaze? You want to use the glaze if you want to, and you don't use water to water down the patinas, you use the glaze if you want to make them more transparent. If I just wanted to put a wash over this of any of the colors, I would mix it with the glaze. Or if I want to keep the bright spots bright, over time it's metal, it will age. The bright spots will start to turn, and then you would need to rebuff them up. But if you want to keep the high points high and bright, you just take a little bit of the glaze, put a little bit of the glaze down, use your paintbrush, and paint right over it. And that will keep the bright points bright, so that you don't have to buff it again. So if I wanted to keep these all nice and bright, even on the ones that are not painted, if I want to keep those bright points bright, I just take a little bit of the glaze, put it down, so it's acting as a sealant, and just brush it right over the top and let it dry. It's acting as a sealant, but it also acts as an extender for your paints. It takes them to a more translucent, almost transparent look as opposed to opaque. Now, let me show you a few samples here, and this one in particular. This one here, can you see that it's kind of purpley and blue? I have to tell you, when I started with the pink. I used the pink. I was not happy with what I did. I let it dry, and then I covered it with the purple, and the purple covered the pink because it's an opaque paint. So you can start again. If you're unhappy with what you've done, you can start again. Now here, I've mixed all sorts of colors to get that look. And here, I painted the whole thing green. I let it dry. The whole thing green, let it dry, and then I came back with my blue. Okay? And that way the colors did not blend. I didn't want them to mix. I wanted to have separation. I wanted them to be very vivid and very, very bright. So as opposed to putting it on at the same time, the blue and the green, I let the green dry and then came back with the blue. And then we have another butterfly here at the top. Okay? So now, what if you don't have a Sizzix Big Shot machine? And you all should have a Sizzix Big Shot machine, but let's say you don't have one and you want to play with these. That's okay. Vintaj makes the most beautiful charms, absolutely gorgeous charms. And you can use the paints on the charms as well. Here's the bird. And all I did with this one is, for this one, I went ahead and I kind of buffed it up because I want the high points to be bright. So I buffed it up. And then I could just take my glaze and go right over the top and be done. Or I could use the patinas. Let's use a little more yellow. And how about a little bit of the pink? So you don't have to have a Sizzix Big Shot machine and the dies to play with this. You can play with just the charms. So I'm going to paint that on. And it dries so fast. So I've got it painted on. A little bit of water. Wipe off my brush, grab some of that pink. And just come in here. See, and the yellow just changes everything. It allows you to blend colors, I think, beautifully, because the yellow and the pink make a gorgeous orange. Gorgeous orange. So now I'm going to let that dry for a second, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to buff it. Here's another sample that we've done where we've blended the color. So I started with the yellow at the top and the pink at the bottom, and I drew them into each other to get the orange. Lovely, isn't it? Okay, then we have, let's see, we've got another sample here of a card where we've got the blending, a pink and a green. Okay, I've got some samples, while this one's drying, of charms that are done. And I just painted them, and I made this as an earring. I've got a lot of things on earrings because it's easy for me to show you. And I made this set. So I made that actually into a whole set of earrings. But you could also dangle these off you could use them on your cards, you could use them on your pages, you could use them on your altered art. And then this one. And these are all using Vintaj pieces that don't require a Sizzix Big Shot machine and the dies. And you still get to play. All right, so it's all dry. Oh, my hands are dirty. Wowie kadowie. My hands are dirty. Let's take our block again, relief block, and I'm just gonna hit some of the high points. Just some of the high points. Then I go to my white, and then I go to the opposite side of the white, the thick gray. And he's done. Now if I wanted to add more color, I can. Because it's an opaque paint, if I want more pink, I just put more pink down. And I can go back in and color more. Give more detail, give more dimension. And I could just let this one dry. And just let it dry just like that. The options are limitless because of the way the paint is made. Vintaj and Ranger did an awesome job. So non-porous materials. And here's the one I glazed. And it's all dry. And now these high points will always stay bright. They won't turn. Okay, one last thing before we go. I want to talk to you a little bit about the embossing folders, the plastic ones that we're so used to. People want to know, can you use this with your blanks, your metal blanks? The answer is yes, you can. Will it emboss? Yes, it will. Will it give you a sharp embossing? No, it won't. It will work, but it won't give you a sharp embossing. Why? Because the plastic is malleable. It will bend down, it will roll over. The edges will not stay sharp and crisp. You can absolutely put it in there, and I did. Actually, I showed you this one earlier. This one. And here. This was done using the Tim Holtz. And I just took this little piece right here. This is, I think, the bingo set. I took this one right here. It's not going to give you as crisp and as sharp of an image, but yes, it will work. Give it a try, play. That's what this is all about. I just think these are just gorgeous. So, what did we learn today? We learned that Sizzix and Vintaj and Ranger have come together to give you options in playing with metal pieces that we've never had before. Vintaj makes the metal blanks, heavy metal blanks, sold like this, and they make charms here that you can buy for your albums, your mini albums and your cards and jewelry. Sizzix has made the dies that will work with the blanks to give you the embossing or the etching on the blank. Okay, and they make about 20 of these. And then Ranger has come up with the Patinas. And the Patinas are sold in sets of 3. And it is a paint that is made for non-porous materials, specifically metal. And the 3 companies have worked so well together to give you a complete and finished product. Here's another butterfly. See, I think the yellow, I don't know how, this is the yellow set. I think you have to have this, no matter what other set you go with, you have to have that yellow, because that yellow blends everything. I just love it. And again, you're going to, looks like the etching die, etches, which is different than an embossing. And I had an etched here somewhere. Oh, here, this is a butterfly that's been etched and painted. So you can see where the etched lines are, that's where the paint stayed. Versus the Deco embossing dies, which have the metal in the inside and fold up. That gives you a deep embossed look. Okay, the paints are opaque, they blend. If you don't like what you did, you can paint right over it once it's dry and start all over again. And yes, the blanks will work in your plastic folders. It just won't give you the deep embossing that you will get with the Deco Etch. You can also just use blanks, charms from Vintaj. Heck, you can use any kind of metal charm. Okay, different pieces that we've done. Boy, my hands are dirty. And yes, your hands are gonna get dirty. That's from playing with the metal. And just keep a wipey close by. All right, so now where are you gonna buy all of these phenomenal products from Vintaj and Sizzix and Ranger? Well, you're gonna get them at scrapbooking-made-simple.com. I'm gonna scroll back on up and I am gonna say, well, we played outside the box today. I really think we did. I had a great time. I love this product. I had so much fun at the make and take we had at our store with it. Our customers had a great time. And really quickly, here's the card we did. And we put the butterfly right on it. You're gonna find all of these items on sale at scrapbooking-made-simple.com for 1 week after the original load date of this YouTube. So I'm Stacy at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and thank you so much for spending the time with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week. Bye.